Hello there, welcome to Witch Hunt. I'm Antonio Stuckey, and this entry in our Victim Story series, I will be telling the story of Salem Witch Trial victim Martha Carrier. Martha Carrier was born Martha Allen to Andrew and Faith Ingalls Allen. Her exact birth date is unknown, but she was likely the middle child of the 6 Allen children. Her elder sister was Mary Allen, who would later marry Roger Toothaker of Billerica. Martha was born and raised in Andover, and when she was about 22, she met a man named Thomas Carrier, who at the time was said to have been around 48 years old, and according to later legend, over 7 feet tall. Martha and Thomas were married on May 7th, 1674, and within 2 months of the wedding, Martha gave birth to their eldest child, Richard, on July 19th. However, Richard was not premature, and his parents likely married because Martha was pregnant. Fornication before marriage was a crime punishable by whipping, but it's unknown that the couple was punished. The Carrier family settled in Billerica, where Martha gave birth to 4 more children, and sadly, their daughter Jane died after her birth in 1680. In 1676, the Carriers moved their farm into the northern part of Billerica, near Martha's sister Mary Toothaker. This was due to local suspicion that the Carriers were bringing smallpox into their community, and Martha had an aggressive behavior with her neighbors, and there were rumors that the unusually tall Thomas was the man who executed King Charles I in 1649. Between 1684 and 1689, the Carriers left Billerica officially, returning to Martha's birthplace of Andover, where they lived with Martha's parents, Faith and Andrew. Sadly, in 1690, a smallpox epidemic swept through Andover, killing 13 people. 7 of them were members of Martha's family: her father, 2 brothers, 2 nephews, a sister-in-law, and a brother-in-law died as a result of the disease. Despite taking care of her father and losing many of her family members, suspicion fell on Martha as no one in the immediate Carrier family died from the disease. Martha's mother would pass away not long after, and by 1692, the ongoing outbreak of witch accusations in nearby Salem spread to Andover. Martha Carrier was accused of witchcraft on May 28, 1692, alongside her sister Mary Toothaker. Why? It was likely due to the rumors of her causing the 1690 smallpox epidemic, and the rumors of her brother-in-law, Roger Toothaker, being a folk healer and using counter magic didn't help her at all. On May 31st, 1692, Martha was examined in the meeting house before the afflicted that had accused her. When Martha entered the meeting house, the afflicted reacted violently to her presence, but Martha maintained her innocence, stating, "I have not done it." And when asked if the man in black came to her, and she told the magistrates, "I saw no black man but your own presence." The afflicted claimed that 13 ghosts surrounded Carrier, accusing her of using witchcraft to start the epidemic. A few months after her arrest, Martha's children Richard, age 18, Andrew, age 15, Thomas Jr., age 10, and Sarah, age 7, were arrested as well. Richard and Andrew confessed after being tortured, and Thomas and Sarah confessed as well, claiming that their mother made them a witch. It's unknown how these accusations from her own children made Martha feel, but likely she probably knew deep down her children had no choice. Over the course of 1692, many more members of Martha's extended family were accused as well. Her sister, Mary Toothaker, her niece, Martha Emerson and Margaret Toothaker, and many others in the Johnson, Dane, and Faulkner families. Many of them would give accounts that were used against Martha at her trial. Martha was held for trial, and by early August of 1692, she was finally brought to trial. Much of the evidence came from her Andover neighbors. Benjamin Abbott accused her of killing his cattle and causing his feet to swell after an argument. 11-year-old Phoebe Chandler claimed that her specter tried to attack her in the meeting house, and that after hearing a disembodied voice in the bush, she fell ill. And many of the accused witches from Andover also testified against her, including Ann Foster and her daughter, accused witches Mary Lacey Sr. and Mary Lacey Jr. Mary Lacey Jr. stated that Martha Carrier was promised to be the queen in hell, alongside the Reverend George Burroughs, and even her own nephew, Alan Toothaker, testified against her as well, son of Mary and Roger. After the incredibly biased testimonies against Martha, she was found guilty and sentenced to hang. On a hot summer day on August 19, 1692, Martha Carrier was led to the gallows alongside John Proctor, John Willard, George Jacobs, and George Burroughs. There she was one of the first to be hanged, and her body was hastily buried. Robert Califf later describes in More Wonders of the Invisible World, stating, "When George Burroughs was cut down, he was dragged by a halter to a hole or grave between the rocks about 2 feet deep. His shirt and breeches were pulled off, and an old pair of trousers of one of the executed put on his lower parts. He was so put in with Willard and Carrier that one of his hands and his chin and the foot of one of them was left uncovered." After this, it's unknown what happened to her body, but Thomas Carrier petitioned for restitution on behalf of his executed wife and for the expenses incurred during his children's incarceration. On October 17, 1711, Martha Carrier's name was cleared of all charges nearly 20 years after her death. By that time, the Carrier family had moved to Colchester, Connecticut, where they were among the earliest settlers of the area, and Thomas operated an iron works on the Salmon River. He died in 1735 at the reported age of 109 years old. The New England Journal stated that his head in his last years was not bald nor gray. Not many days before his death, he traveled on foot 6 miles to see a sick friend, and the day before he died, he was visiting his neighbors. His mind was alert until he died, when he fell asleep in his chair and never woke up. Martha is described by her contemporaries, such as Cotton Mather, as a rampant hag, but her reputation has been fixed from being that argumentative woman to a self-reliant and strong character. She's honored with 2 memorials at the Charter Street Memorial in Salem and the Witchcraft Victims Memorial in Danvers. Her story is also told in The Heretic's Daughter, written by descendant Catherine Kent, and The Once and Future Witch Hunt by Alice Markham Cantor. Sadly, a few years after the trials, Martha Carrier's own sister, Mary Toothaker, was killed in a raid in 1695, and her niece, Margaret, was never seen again. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed.